having two separate tables, and then they have a, v4 or v6 specific APIs.
Yep.
But we don't have that architecture inside, and then we wanted to keep it consistent
Okay,
in
that's
Dash as well.
understood. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But then the challenge is that how do you do the lookup? And lookup, we just create a key enumeration,
Yeah.
extended by the bit, as Hanif was saying.
Got it. So no, that's what I understood. I just wanted to make sure. The second thing was because as I start looking at fragmentation, I wanted to. So the second question is now I want to go ahead and instead of just do the IPv4 v6 for the destination IP only, that's how it is done today. I want to move it in the metadata to create a flow, and that will be a generic flow, v4 v6 flow. And inside that, I will use v4 or v6 address, right? So I'm going to go ahead and do that. But I just wanted to see if anyone has, thoughts or comments on that before I do. That just saves it just saves time.
Venkat, what's the need for specifying the full flow for fragmentation?
No, it's not. No, as we in general for flow tracking, right? So I could keep source port, destination port separate. And then it works for UDP and TCP, right? And and that's how it is today. Metadata has a structure inside called flow, and the flow has source port and destination port, and it's common to both TCP, UDP. See, what I'm proposing is to extend it to have two bits. One indicates TCP or UDP, and another indicates v4 or v6, and have like a phi tuple inside. So then everywhere in our code, we'll have to refer, every time you want to refer to IP address, you need to go through metadata, rather meta.flow.destination IP. So instead of doing it field by field, we may want to consider flow as a first class citizen because Dash is, everything about flows. I think putting that, creating that flow that is TCP UDP independent, v4 v6 independent, separated by these bits, I think is the right way. But I just wanted to see if anyone has comments. I would extend what Hanif did for IPv6 destination IP to the full flow. That's what I'm proposing.
Yeah, I think the simpler thing, it was easier for us to do for IP because it was a single field, right? Just the bit
Yep.
width was different. But flow is a conglomeration. It's constituted of multiple fields, right? Then what we have to be careful that are all those fields being considered, or you think that they may get extended in the future, right? So flow is an n tuple. Are those all n being identified, and they will remain static? Because
Yeah,
if it changes, your
they
base
will grow
definition.
over a period.
Say it again.
So I know flow definition might grow over a period, but any given time it is fixed, and you would have a v4 version and a v6 version of it, right? So,
But if you
are
do,
you concerned about having two variable length fields and how they would map?
yeah, yeah. So basically, my concern is if flow is your root node, right, through which you are dereferencing other fields, and if your root node grows in future, then I don't know how much the backward compatibility will work or not. That's something to think about.
Yeah.
So,
And then again, there could be other implementation inefficiencies based on offsets
right,
and things
right,
like that.
yeah,
But this is behavioral model, so maybe we are okay. But yeah, again, that's where I was thinking.
yeah. So something to think about, and I'm also thinking,
Okay.
just like right now as you're bringing it. So,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah,
yeah,
I will try to code and push a PR so that we have some reference to talk against,
correct,
right?
correct.
Okay, got it. Cool. Thank you. Thanks for that.
Thanks.
Now, Mario, I thought you had a conflict.
No, Christina, I had it with the meeting yesterday.
Ah, okay. All right. Thanks for coming. Thanks for coming. Did you go to the P4 workshop?
No, today not, but
Oh,
it's
It was pretty good.
recorded.
It was pretty good. We were just going over, there's a new view, instead of view by status only, we have a view by owner. So, we can look at, in a more thorough way, who's doing what and how far along. And I can always change these fields for everyone. So just, that's where we were going before we hopped into Hanif and Kasim and Venkat's work items. So that's where we are. Marianne from NVIDIA had a conflict today. So,
Okay.
and yeah, while we're talking about it, how are we doing here on this one?
Not yet done.
Okay.
We hope next week.
Okay. All right. Let's see. I'll check. I'll put in to check it. Let's see. Now next week is Memorial Day week, so I still plan to have our meetings, but if you can't attend, that's okay. So, okay. Thanks, Mario.
Yeah, but it's good to check because that's the only week if you have 2 kids in college.
Yeah, if you have
vacation,
children
so-
and you have family stuff going on, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Oh, okay.
That seems to be the common week across work everywhere. So if majority is not joining, we could take a poll right now, and that way you're not the only one in the meeting.
Oh, yeah. I wish I could remember how to do the poll. I'll try and work on that while we're talking. So yeah, see if everyone's planning to take the week. Okay, and then so dependent on, okay, and so then I'm going to work with Marianne to do the new work items as they're needed. And some of us in this meeting are also in the HA meeting, and John Carney sent out a really detailed proposal this morning that I've read through. And, if it hits your guys' email, you may want to take a look and see what you think. So I thought it was great. I guess, John, you're here.
I am. Yeah, it'd be good if people read it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was reading it during the P4 meeting. So here's what it looks like, everybody, if you have a chance. Pictures and everything. So that's what I have this week. Gerald, do you have anything?
No, and I'm reading the HA thing too, and I
Oh.
still need to publish my little paper, but with promotions and raises going on right now, we're just a little busy, so I'll get to it next week.
Okay.
But good work on Excite's side to get the conversation going in a more concrete, something that we can talk to. So that was good work, and looking forward to next meeting. And I'm glad that he did that before next meeting, because now everybody can read it and we'll have a better product next meeting.
Yep. So yeah, if everyone can read it, that would be great. So anyone have anything else this week, or should we end it?
So this email went to the Gmail group that all of us.
This email, I think, was a reply to the entire meeting. So it's who needs a copy? I can
Right,
forward
it's
along.
it's the HA group. I mean, I think we could forward it to the behavioral model group.
Yeah, who's missing?
that'd be
I'm
fair.
sorry, I didn't see who was talking.
I'm missing Venkat Puella.
You are? Oh, okay, all right. I'm just gonna forward it to you then.
Yeah.
But send it to the entire behavioral model group too. They should get it as well.
Okay. I was trying to kind of keep them separate, but I can certainly do that. It's good for everyone to just kind of ingest and think about it anyway.
Yeah, especially the final are like a big proposals, right? Day to day, we don't need to be in sync, but it's good to.
Okay, great. Yeah, I try to be mindful of not spamming your inbox, but on the other hand, content like this is gold to read, to how we think about doing things in the future. So yeah, I'm happy to do that. Okay.
So I don't want to hold people.
No,
but,
you're fine. You're fine.
I have like a different topic that maybe I can bring up.
Okay.
Gerald is here, and maybe this is a good time to bring it up. I've spent some time on Azure, And I've been doing some testing to try to like really see what like the behavior is of like the network security groups and, you know, stateful connection tracking, like what's being done today on Azure. And like I see behaviors that I think are like, you know, stricter than some of the things that we're doing in Dash. And I just wanted to understand, like, is it the intention of Microsoft to, you know, maintain like the behaviors of the network security group feature that exists today in a Dash solution?
So
And I can get
the
into
answer,
what some of those are, but yeah.
yes, the answer is absolutely, it's 100% compatible. So there's a difference between pre-Dash, which is being deployed, and our ability
Yeah.
to document it here. This is
Okay.
kind of lagging.
Okay.
But there's 100%, you have to be 100% equivalent. And so if things are missing, it's not that they're missing in our pre-Dash, it's just that they're not documented. And so I think everybody understands that the VNet behavior, it needs a lot of work. It's, you know, we're not.
Yeah, I'm talking about the connection tracking. I mean, I'm talking specifically about the connection tracking and, you know, what like, there's a very specific behaviors of like connection tracking that I've been able to sort of infer by like testing connections, you know, between two VMs on two VNets on Azure. And I, like I said, I have some concerns because I think that there are behaviors there that we haven't expressed
So
in
you should write them down because I'm not sure if that's just a documentation issue. I doubt if there's a behavioral difference in, I mean, we run, you don't see it because you have no access to it, but we do run the pre-Dash today with existing clients.
Like,
but
I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example. It's like 100% clear to me that the sequence numbers are being tracked, both of the SINs and of the FINs. And I kind of understand why. And you know, I know we had like a lot of debate over like, do we need to track sequence numbers? And I'm like 100% certain that sequence number tracking is absolutely being done today on Azure.
I would agree. And I think we've said that, but there's a lot of debate on it, but we definitely need to be able to track sequence numbers.
Right. So, okay. So
now,
I have
will
some.
Also say the reason why there's some debate on it, though, is you know, there's some denial of service attacks which would say that, you know, we're doing it wrong. So, for example, if you send a FIN with the wrong sequence number, that's an attack. It's a very common attack because it's easy to do. We've chosen to do what you said. We're tracking sequence numbers, but you could argue that, well, we're wrong. Like that causes more problems than it solves. And so there might be some, I think those are the areas which we'll need to talk about a bit more, because when it comes to combining, and that's why I think somebody said at the beginning, when you talk about security, you need a whole new work group because it actually affects, you know, your data path and how you behave and which security risk do you go after versus you don't go after, and why, and what was the rationale for not actually doing that. And in, you know, I think in the case of sequence numbers, it was because if you look at a VNet scenario, VNets attacking themselves, we don't even care. Like, you can attack yourself all day long. The real issue is if the attack comes from the internet, and I think that's where it's debatable. You know, from the internet, if the whole connection comes from the internet, then you don't know what you're self-attacking. And therefore, maybe there should be a different behavior when packets come from the internet versus when they stay within the VNet. But frankly, within the VNet, we don't worry as much about those types of attacks.
Actually, I actually saw like different behavior from like when you're within the same VNet to two different VNets. So like there were like different behaviors, like actually like you're saying, but like I think if I understand you correctly, Gerald, you're saying like as a baseline, like Dash has to like be able to do the exact behaviors of Azure today, but you're saying that maybe the behaviors of Azure today might not necessarily be like correct in terms of being like, like security trade-offs.
Yeah, and I think correct is probably not the right term, but they're debatable. Like every
Right.
security.
There are
Well,
trade-offs, or
yeah.
right.
And they could
Okay.
choose a different one, and I know why they chose that one is like they don't care if VNet attacks itself. And so
Right.
they actually do track it because they're like, well, if they want to do that, then fine, So, but
So like I'll give you an
I,
example, like the sequence number tracking on the SINs, like it's clear to me that like for example, there's a 5-second timeout of the connection until you get to the established state. And you don't get to the established state unless like the sequence numbers are like, perfectly checked. And then once you're in the established state, then there's like a 5-minute timeout on the connection. And then there's like similar kind of behaviors on the fins. And so, I think like these are the behaviors that I see, and I don't know. I mean, I think like the open contrail connection tracking does express like sequence number tracking on the SINs and the fins, but we haven't really talked about like the timers and like how those will get into the behavioral model. And there are like other behaviors that I see, like if you got like the SIN in the middle of a established connection, like what happens? And so like I just think that that there's like more to it than like how we've expressed it so far.
we can talk about that. I think though what you're really seeing is in Azure. I mean, all the SynActs and FinActs and everything are done in software. So some of the delays that you see are because like they can't do millions of connections per second, and they also can buffer a lot of this stuff up, and so it's not even seen for a while if the connections per second get extremely high, right? You end up with a problem, not being able to deal with that. Whereas in a DPU scenario, they're done in real time. There is no
right, but I think these kinds of timers that I'm talking about are kind of like are like actual behaviors that exist today, and not necessarily a result of like like the capacity of the current implementations. I mean, so I mean maybe some of them are, but like mostly this just looks like this is kind of like the defined behavior of what is being done today.
So
And
list them out, bring them in. We can talk about them one by one. We'll have Michael. We can
yeah,
debate them, and then one by one. I don't think there are going to be some changes, but those changes shouldn't be because they should be because it is debatable. Not
okay,
there
yeah,
are some gray areas here, and
yeah, okay, right.
So
And not
let's
because like someone can't implement it, right? I mean, it's like if you have a behavior today and that's a requirement, then that's what people have to implement, right? I mean, um,
if it's a
maybe,
requirement. I think that's the
yeah,
question. You could have a behavior
yeah,
today, and every implementation in the world is different, right? So there's going to be some differences.
yeah,
And
yeah,
if it's just that's your implementation, okay, fine. So that's what we'll have to debate each one. Any
okay,
difference we can debate and then
yes,
choose. And we
okay,
probably should have a list of, we probably should have a running list of slight differences.
yes,
Just so people are aware, and because if you don't write them down as differences, then in the future, then they'll just be like people trying to figure out what's going wrong, and it would have been easily found had we just listed the deviances. So I think
right,
that's what we need, is like a list and be very crisp on what are those differences. I think it's easy to say, oh, we have to be the same all the time. That's a simple statement, but in reality that's
right.
not as easy as that.
Right, and I haven't checked like how does AWS do network security groups and what are those behaviors, and like how does Google do it, and because like I mean I'm sure you're right, like there are probably differences like in there and how they do things, and as a provider of a Dash data plane, I mean, I would want to make sure that like our implementation has at least the option to be able
Yeah.
to, cover like these different kinds of behaviors.
Yeah, I agree. That's exactly what you hope for, is that these can be provisionable
Right.
optional behaviors so that we can match the general we don't want to match Azure only. We want to match this to any cloud. And so you're right. They should be, if there's a difference, and we can put that option in to include that difference or not. That's the best.
Yeah. Okay. So I have some notes. When I get a chance, I'll try to write these up in an understandable way.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay. Okay.
I'm glad people are testing. That's great. That's where you find the truth, right?
Yeah.
Poria, did you have a question? Quick question? Or Chris?
Poria's got one next to his hand, so he can go first. If he has something.
No, I don't.
Okay. Go ahead, Poria.
No, I don't have a question. Thank you.
Oh, you have your
okay.
hand raised.
Your hand's up. Okay, Chris, go ahead.
He's just waving to us.
Just
He's being
waving,
friendly.
yeah. Stretching.
Two things. One is Shin Lu gave an excellent talk at the P4 workshop keynote this morning, and the links aren't up yet for the recorded version, but people will probably want to watch her talk because she talks about Sonic Dash, P4 behavioral model, and all this stuff. So it's really a nod to the efforts of this whole community. So people definitely want to watch that, and it's good for even internal messaging in your own companies. You can share it with people who may not understand all this.
Did you get good questions and comments?
Yeah, Guru from ONF was the moderator, and you'll love the question and follow-up. Gerald, one question he asked was, well, can Dash be used with other operating systems? Because, it has a SI interface. Does it have to be used with Sonic? And Shin gave a very well-crafted response. She said, technically, yes, because of this abstraction, but because of security postures and upgrades and operational concerns, we settled on Sonic. So, the messaging is consistent.
Yeah.
But
we worked, Christine and I worked with her all week on that. So that's good.
But she gave a real nice overview. I thought it was really a good high level of the whole thing. And, her perspective on it was good. Sometimes we're in the weeds here. And she gives a nice, 20,000 foot view of the whole thing. I really liked it.
Right, and what I want to do, Chris, is post that link in the GitHub as soon as we have the publication.
Yeah, but I've been doing internal messaging to our, at Keysight about Sonic and Dash, and it's always good to have a resource that you can point people to get the executive summary. It's
actually good that we were invited to talk at a P4 conference about Sonic and Dash. So I thought that was really good testament to the interest, and I think it shows that people do understand that Dash is complementary. It's not taking over IPDK. It's not taking over P4. It's not trying to supersede OpenSSL. It's not any of that. It's actually complementary to it. And I think the fact that they're already inviting us to talk at their conferences is a testament to the acceptance of that this is a complementary open group, and it's not trying to shut down any other effort, actually. And so it's not instead of any other effort, it's complementary. I think, that's why they did invite us, and it's good to know that people are understanding that.
Yeah. Can I add something to that?
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt, Chris, right? I just want to add, because the previous meeting I was in the OPI, Open Programmable Infrastructure group, right? And then there was discussion about testing and whatnot, and where they're getting started. It's not just we are complementary. I think this is kind of a leading effort that's very useful for a lot of these communities. So they asked one of us to come and present how the testing is happening there. So I echo what you say, but I think we can go ahead and say we are also leading, right? You can see the effort.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, but I don't want people also, I do want to have liaisons to all the other groups and have good relationships, because it often comes up where they'll say like, you know, are you competing? It's like, no, we're not competing.
No.
Actually,
It is a world leading exercise for sure. And I wouldn't want anybody to think I didn't think it was world leading, because it's all I do these days. But it's world leading in such a way that we can actually work with all those other groups, and we benefit from them, by the way, and they benefit from us.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to, since we're on this topic about, you know, the cross pollination. So besides Venkat, I also participate in discussions with IPDK groups, OPI, et cetera. And there's a lot of awareness of DASH throughout. And the P4 workshop had DASH mentioned in many different situations, not just Shin's talk. Reshma and I gave a talk on DASH P4 model and testing. And that can be a resource also. In fact, if had Guru watched that video, he would have, a lot of his questions would have been answered, because he was asking about, well, how are the site headers generated? It was almost like a lead in, right? So it's all good. The other topic I wanted to bring up, and I see that Prince is on the call. Hopefully he can help answer. From a testing standpoint, we still need this sort of canonical format for test configuration information, like a JSON file or something like that. And we need something, you know, definitive sooner rather than later, because we're going to start creating test cases. And we don't want to go too long with interim formats or ad hoc ones, because there'll be some rework. So if we can converge on that, it'll be helpful, and we don't have to do that in this meeting. But
yeah, I think sure, Chris. I think test plan is one of our major next step. So either we can call for a separate meeting, or I'm currently trying to define the topologies that are required for the sonic management part. So
well, this is a little bit of a different question. Maybe, you know, there's a document up there that's called dash reference config example.md that you and Michael worked on, right? It's a JSON snippet inside of a README.
Yes.
And what we need is the actual one. You know, we need something that can basically be applied, imported or exported to realize the AppDB configuration.
Yeah,
And
so I
we're going to
think
use
that one, I would say we will have to refer to the Sonic Dash HLD and define the DB objects based on that. So we have done that in the past, like, you know, from the DB schema, we define the JSON files that can be applied as a configuration.
Right.
So yeah, I see what you're asking. So this is all like part of the Sonic management test plan. So I'm not sure like when we should have a discussion on that.
Yeah, because if we're going to start writing tests against the behavioral model shortly, we could already use that. And I would think that if P4 is the source of truth, we could actually almost derive all schema from the P4 code. I don't know if that's true, but really it would be nice to have a starting point that everything's auto-generated if they're all just like translations from one way of doing it to another, but they're all identical. Should be possible to auto-generate it. It's not like traditional Sonic where there's a huge structural transformation sometimes from a config into a psi representation. You know, there's statefulness, there's an orchestration. I was thinking that the P4 code can somehow be related almost algorithmically to every schema layer in the stack. If that's true, you should be able to write code to generate or transform between any layer, like Python code, for example. So that's maybe we can have a brainstorming or something on this, because we do need to settle on something so we start writing test cases and don't have to rewrite them, if that's possible.
Okay.
We're already doing testing in the lab, and we're having to invent schema on, you know, ad hoc. So that's the mission. And maybe I never explained why we need this now and not, you know, 6 months from now. And you know, we can always have a one-on-one on this if you want.
Sure, or I could invite to the Key Site meeting on Friday.
Yeah, this Friday we probably are going to be packed with other topics,
Okay.
I suspect.
Sounds good. Okay. Sounds good. If any, do you guys have anything else, or should I stop the recording for the day? Where it looks like we're 2 minutes out. So I just gave a shameless plug for myself. You know, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you want to see the meeting notes, things like that. And I do appreciate all your time, and thank you for coming, and thank you, John, for that huge write-up. I need to read it a second and third time, I think. So that'll be my homework tonight.
Okay, that hope if you have trouble falling asleep, it might be a good thing to read.